What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. We are starting off today's video on hole number 8 here at Brevard College. Today we're talking about distance drivers, distance driver decisions time. We have the Neutron Timelapse, the distance driver that I leaned on exclusively in December, this specific disc, but I leaned on the Timelapse a lot for most of last season. But I'm interested to see how new cool plastic varieties stack up. So I'm going to be testing out this Meta Horizon C-Line Cloudbreaker from the mystery box versus a Neutron Timelapse. This theoretically should be more stable based off of plastic options. We're going to see how they stack up. Timelapse is a little bit deeper dish. So there's just more to hold on to, which it's a little chilly out today. This might help it. But I do grip onto C-Line plastic very, very well. So let's see what happens. We're going to start off on hole number 8, 350 feet, backhand hyzer, around to the left. We're going to start with the distance driver that I had in my bag, Timelapse, and then we'll go with the Cloudbreaker. Way too far, but this slot for me is going to go a little further than 350. I'm going to be trying to push it to get further than 350, whereas I'm leaning more 10 speed for the 350 range. So these should be going a little bit past the basket. A little bit more height on that made it a little bit better as far as distance markers. They both kind of got caught up a little bit, but I think we're gonna give it to the Cloudbreaker on this one just because I hit the gap a little bit better. The Cloudbreaker was actually like 15 feet away, so I definitely mixed up the throws a little bit. This was a better throw to the hole, this was a better throw just in general, but we were kind of measuring to the hole. So Cloudbreaker takes the point. We are gonna go with a big forehand. If it flexes, perfect. If not, just want to see how fast does it stable out and how fast does it fade. We are going to be going for distance forward and distance right on this. That was going to be so good, but I also grip locked it ever so slightly. That is a terrible throw. The Cloudbreaker was a better throw, worse result. So unfortunately, the Cloudbreaker loses a point again. They are all tied up, even though the Cloudbreaker was a better throw. We have jumped over to hole 1, 313 feet. We are going to throw the forehand hyzer here. Yet again, Timelapse took a point. So now they are tied up. Timelapse versus Cloudbreaker. See how the forehand shapes up here when there's not a tree for me to grip lock it into. That is going to be really difficult to actually beat because that's maybe the closest I've ever been on this hole. Ooh. That is really tough to tell from here because one finish behind the tree. Gonna have to actually walk up there and figure it out. I didn't think they would be that close and that similar. Thank goodness there's a headwind today on hole number 5 because I want to see both of these into the headwind right next to each other because I know this one if thrown hard enough and the headwind is stiff enough, I will get it to flip up and turn and barely come back at the very end. Haven't got this one to do that yet. Cloudbreaker, though, did take the T-pad and the point. So this Meta Horizon C-Line it's not bad. Currently beating a Neutron Timelapse. See what they do into a headwind. Hopefully we can reach the 400 mark, but probably not likely, knowing my arm. Okay, that's close to 400, but still short. That one did, I threw it on hyzer. It stood up super straight, stayed flat, turned a little bit. Actually did turn a little bit and then faded out. But that's about the perfect stability of your stable distance driver, not your super overstable distance driver, but your stable distance driver. When thrown into a headwind, you want to be able to rely on it, but you still want to get a little bit of distance. It's very possible that I do actually just connect with C-Line a little bit better than I do with Neutron, which makes a lot of sense to me because I connect better with Proton than I do with Neutron. Let's it's interesting, but I think the Cloudbreaker is up another point. I'm fairly certain it went further than the Timelapse. So while I love the Timelapse and it's done some really cool things and it's done some things for me that I haven't really found other distance drivers to do, I'm starting to get to the point where I'm actually able to get that, what I was able to achieve out of a Timelapse, out of some other distance drivers like this Cloudbreaker and like some other distance drivers. So we're going to start to explore, maybe take a step up in speed, maybe take a step up in stability, maybe just change up the plastics and discs and see if that works any better. This is going to be our last drive with these two discs. The Cloudbreaker has, unless I personally have messed up and grip locked it into a tree, it has beat the Timelapse every single time. Not saying that a Timelapse is a bad disc, just saying that this specific Cloudbreaker is a little bit better for me personally, my arm speed and today's wind conditions, than this Timelapse. Now, we get a Proton Timelapse, then we could pair up this. We might have some really interesting matchup, but I think the Neutron Timelapses are coming to a close in my bag. I feel more comfortable with other discs and other plastics, and whereas this is amazing and really fun to throw, it doesn't do the same thing for me that it used to do when I first started throwing the Timelapse. Hole 7's T-pad is 370 feet. Let's throw a big backhand hyzer. Cloudbreaker has the box and has 2 strokes. Let's see if it finishes out by taking the last stroke or if the Timelapse closes up one last time. I mean, you can't really ask for much of a better drive than that. I've thrown this Cloudbreaker for a total of maybe 4 videos so far, and I'm already throwing it that accurately. That's when you find a disc that you're that accurate with, just off the rip, maybe you should stick it in the back. Let's see if we can get any closer with this. I'm just a little bit more consistent with C-Line plastic or Proton plastic, whatever that translucent premium plastic is. I'm just a little bit better and a little bit more comfortable and consistent with that specific type of plastic. I don't know why. I just am. I throw it better. I do. If this hasn't shown you anything, Definitely go check out Cloudbreakers. Their new runs of Cloudbreakers that they're doing are not necessarily super overstable, and especially in their C-line plastic, they're not beefy. They're a good amount of overstable, but you're still going to get a lot of good distance out of those. Check those out if you haven't had a chance to. They're worth it. Also check out the Timelapse. They're a lot of fun to throw, and I'm not getting rid of them necessarily, but I don't know if they'll be staying in my bag for the rest of forever, is what I'm saying. Hopefully you enjoy content like this. If you do, please make sure to like the video. If you want to see new stuff, make sure to comment all that down below. Please make sure to subscribe. It helps you guys out with these subscriber-only giveaways. Definitely helps me out as well. And until next time, see you out on the course.